Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Oh, good. Okay. So let's start with meditation. So we're going to blend a number of the meditations that you've learned so far. So the first thing is to close your eyes, but leave your eyes open just a slit, just a hair, so that you stay present to this reality at the same time as you expand. So gently close your eyes and then open them just a slit. And you sort of make a promise to yourself that you'll hold that without it really engaging. Then you feel inside to the space below your belly button. You breathe to that space. And as my friend Mika Karu says, yellow like the sun, home base, safe place. So you hold your attention there and then gently allow it to expand downward to the center of the earth. And it doesn't matter how low you feel you can go. Just have the intention to connect to the center of the earth. Check that your eyes are still open a slit. And holding that space at the center of earth, allow your energy and attention to rise up to the stars. However far you go is totally fine. And then you feel along that axis for your heart center in your body, still connected to the earth, still connected to heaven. And you breathe into that center. Then feel into your throat center. Breathe into that. And then the third eye behind and between your eyebrows in the center of your head. And now we'll begin the Om meditation in 3 parts, starting at the tip of the tailbone, the Ah, the Oo in the center of the heart, and the with a buzz to it in the third eye. And then it floats upward out the top of your head. Comes down around your body, regroups, and begins again. So we'll do this 9 times out loud, 9 times whispered, 9 times internally, watching the energy as we say the syllables in the chakras. Always we're doing that. And then the last time where we just watch the energy, and you can say the syllables then too, if you're moved to do so. So we'll begin. And use your own pitch, whatever feels comfortable for your voice. Aum. 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 Gently holding your attention inside. Gently open your eyes. Take as much time as you need to, but hold your attention inside so you can feel what it is to be truly in your own space. And aware of the outside world in the same moment. So whenever you've gathered yourself, we welcome your questions, gathered or not. So wonderful to see everybody. How may we serve this morning? Go ahead. I've been encouraged not to mention names, so.
Okay.
So please
Can you
speak.
hear me?
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
I have a question about effort. In spiritual practice, in contrast with allowing. And my reason for asking is that effort has played a huge part in my practice for a very long time. And I feel like I've reached a dead end with it because it has so many, I have a lot of very unwelcome energetic effects in my body, my nervous system, and any kind of effort seems to make those symptoms worse, and it's to the point where I have to, take medication to deal with them. And so I'm very attracted to the idea of allowing everything to be as it is. But I can't get out of the effort mode.
So this is a really good question, the relationship between effort and allowing. So effort is getting yourself to sit down and meditate. That's effort. Allowing is taking the sensitive nervous system offline and allowing the energy itself to inform you rather than trying to make something happen or create some experience. The allowing is taking your mind away from it and forgetting about the energy. For you, for now, just forget about energy. Just forget about it. Because you have a very sensitive nervous system. And so your nervous system gets all tangled up in the energy. Or we won't even say it like that. We just don't want any mental construct except the fact that you have a sensitive nervous system. So that means you don't do any kind of stimulants, and you deeply relax. The effort, there's some kind of feedback. Yeah. Oh,
I'm going to mute you, Wally, and but unmute yourself when you want to talk again.
so the effort is just sitting down and doing the practice and thinking of the allowing as allowing the practice to do you. So you're not, quote unquote, engaging energy. You just allow yourself to feel first into your tailbone without any expectation. And you just allow whatever wants to happen there. But you're not trying to pull in anything or take anything away or do anything. You just be present. So there's when there's effort, and we're not saying this just personally to you. This isn't, it's not a criticism. It's an attempt to redirect what effort is. Because effort is just being present, not just. Being present is difficult. Effort is staying in your body. And allowing is letting go, not attempting to control anything or to create anything or to be anything or do anything. It's like just stepping out of the way. Because really you want your highest self to come online. And most of the time we have no idea what that is. So it can be a trap to describe that as energy. Because then it becomes something that we're trying to work. And that's a little bit the reason we use the word allowing instead of surrender, because it's really a gentle stepping out of the way of any ideas that we might have about what our highest best, how our highest best will inform us. This is really what we're cultivating, is alignment with our highest best, which is the highest best for the whole. So if you think about it like that and just kind of allow that highest best to present itself in whatever way is appropriate for you, and understand that the stepping out of the way of any kind of agenda or definition of how that expresses itself within us is stepping away from any kind of limitation we've been cultivating to date. And to give it more language than that is to try to control it. Does that make any sense? Go ahead and unmute yourself. We want to know what you're...
Yes, it does.
Okay, go ahead and unmute yourself and we'll talk a bit more. I mean, mute yourself. We know we're kind of trying to tell you not to think about monkeys. But it's actually come to it with a clean slate. Start over. Which is not starting over because you've done so many years of work. There's no there's no such thing as starting over, but it's starting from a fresh viewpoint. Allow the possibility for new understanding and new experience. And allow it to inform you from the inside out. Because truly, all we're doing here is pointing you toward your highest self. And anything that's disrupting your life is probably not your highest self. And that's what it's informing you by being disruptive. So we're saying, ask a little bit deeper to be acquainted a little bit deeper, and allow everything in your mind to shift by what experiences you begin to have differently. Does that make sense? And it's not something you can do with your mind. That's the other reason that we use the word allowing. It's not a mental activity. It's a letting go of mind, actually. So that another kind of mind the same, how do we say this? The eternal mind of the multiverse, which is the source of everything that is. And allow that to inform you. So it's a new beginning in a process that has been going on and cultivated for a very long time. And it's a way to just let go of the ruts that haven't been serving you for a while. Just let go of that. And so we hear your question loud and clear. How do I do that? It's truly allowing. Just keep allowing and allowing and allowing. And just repeat that. Because you want a totally different answer than what you've been getting. And so you make space for it. That's what we're saying. You make space for a new understanding. The only way it can come is if there's space. And if there's frustration of reaction, then there's frustration of reaction instead of space. So try that, and please come back to us with your experience. So delicious to be with you. We honor your many, many years of dedication to your inner work. We recognize it. And it's not without value. It's just time for a whole new understanding. How may we serve further?
Can you talk about the spiritual and psychological aspects of chronic pain?
So you're asking us about the intersection of chronic pain, spiritual practice, and psychology. So there are a number of ways to answer this. The simplest of which we'll take this morning is, and this is a gross oversimplification, but in a way, it's kind of right. So what we attract to us in terms of experience in this world is a reflection of that which has not yet been met and brought into harmony in ourselves. So the question to ask the pain is, how may I serve you? And whatever answer you get will likely be a psychological one. And when you uncover a deep feeling of discomfort, dis-ease within ourselves is a part of us crying out to be heard, to be brought into the harmony of love, peace, joy, and gratitude. So in a certain way, we can look at this as our responsibility to engage something, probably a long-held pattern of the matrix of belief that we hold within ourselves that keeps us from accessing that love that we are capable to heal, to use, to heal things within ourselves which are in disharmony. Now, there's another dimension to this, in that in the physical body, there are things that can be healed and things that are already, we'll say, injured to the point that there can be accommodation, and that accommodation is as far as the cure can go. We have no way of evaluating this, because although we can see the being who is talking, because they have not acknowledged their identity, we can't exactly see the exact form, but we are energetically communicating, And so the thing to do is to hold that part of yourself that is the pain. And instead of trying to push it away, trying to ignore it, trying to deny it, trying to override it, trying to medicate it, all the things that we do to make the pain be something else. Instead, just allow the pain to be present. And you ask, what is it that you need? And you allow that to speak to you. And then you cradle, as you may see us doing, you cradle that pain in yourself. You put one hand just below your belly button, one hand over your high heart, which is above the nipple line. If you drew a line straight down through your nipple, the high heart is there. And that connects the heart center and the third eye and the higher mind. And if you notice when you put your hands in this position, it's the same position that you would hold to cradle an infant. And so you are cradling that part of yourself which needs to be nurtured out of this pain into love. Now, we're not saying that the pain will go away, although often it does. What we are saying is that your relationship to that pain will change as you begin to love it into harmony and understand that it is a message of disharmony from deep within you, inviting a change. This does not mean that you are responsible for attracting this pain. That's a little bit too complicated. It's just the pain is, you welcome it, you say Ho'oponopono into it. Thank you for showing me this place of disharmony. This is what you're saying to your higher self. Thank you for showing me this. I'm sorry that this pain is keeping me from connection to my highest self. Everything in Ho'oponopono is always said to our highest self, not to any other. And then you say to your highest self, I love you. So there you are. Thank you. I'm sorry. I love you. And that love that we express to our highest self, we are calling on infinite resource, which at itself is the pure love which has created everything that exists. And when we are in alignment with that, our whole understanding of who we are, what we're doing, and why we are here changes. So we're not exactly here to do that for you. We can't. Well, that's not exactly true. We can, but that won't help you. What will help you is learning to do it for yourself. We can show you that it's possible, and we can talk to you about how to do it. But the doing is the commitment to sitting down and inviting union with your highest over and over and over and over and over till that makes sense to you. And what will happen is that every part of your matrix of belief that was given to you without your consent or even your participation, except you were a sponge when you were born. And so this whole matrix of belief was put on you, and you completely took it in. It started when you were in the womb because you were sharing matrix of belief. And it continues until you reach an age where your brain develops enough or your spirit develops enough. It's different for each one of us. We're each completely unique, uniquely put together human beings. But everybody on this call reached a place where they wanted to relate to themselves in a different way, wanted to experience themselves as more than just a matrix of belief acting out what it was handed. So then you start questioning your matrix of belief. You start deepening and looking and beginning to feel for that which is the source of our beingness. And that's what we're doing. And what happens as we start to do that is all the disharmony in our matrix of belief comes to the surface. And so we feel like we've opened Pandora's box because all that comes is disharmony, disharmony on top of disharmony, on top of disharmony. And it's like that for a while. And then there are moments that get longer and longer where we experience connection. And one moment of that connection changes everything. That's what brings you back to doing it over and over and over again, because you know there is something amazing, wonderful, beyond our language to even express the quality of. And it begins to inform you and become the quality of your sense of beingness that you cultivate more and more of a union with this quality experience as it unfolds within you. And over time, you get more and more confident about your access. And you begin to understand that we each contain the love that we are waiting for from somebody else, from some other that we think is going to come and save us. But we actually have that in us, waiting for us to discover. To uncover, to participate, to be in union with. And the way it works is this: as you become more and more of that, then people around you start to notice, and they want to know your secret. And it spreads. And when the 100th monkey gets it, then the whole of our environment will be informed. How may we serve further? Hi, so happy to see you. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you.
Mm.
It's good to be back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure how to phrase this, but I'm becoming aware of almost every little physical problem and they're not major. I'm experiencing a lot of itchiness right now, and I guess it's hives. I just had that diagnosed after weeks of not knowing what it was. But my pattern for many decades has been to ignore my body and just think things through. And I'm aware that maybe that's what I'm starting to do again. And so then the balance for me is to pay attention to something that maybe needs some help. And then, yes, there are a lot of things that can be ignored. So I guess I'm feeling a little confused on this right now. So I guess that's my question.
Yes.
How do I determine if something that I'm experiencing physically is something that I need to get some medical attention on? Or is it something that I could just wait it out and see if it'll pass?
Well, it's funny because we're accessing Rebecca and how she does. And maybe it's because of the medical education, but every discomfort goes to catastrophe very quickly. So we're laughing with her. So that's not the place we're going to take the answer from this morning. So here's the thing. If you can't ignore it and it's persistent, or if it is overwhelmingly an urgent sense of something that needs attention, listen. By now, you have enough experience with your body. You know what, I mean, there are things like itching that can present a kind of urgency, but you know that nobody ever dies from itching.
Right.
So, every modality has ways of treating itching, so that's not such a bad one. But there are things that it's such an interesting question because there's so many ways to go with it. Because, at our age, we're thinking about the fact that nobody gets out of here alive. And so that's a very real factor in the equation after a certain age. And so, and the truth is, we don't exactly want to be saved from everything.
No.
Because we don't want to suffer. And fortunately, in Oregon, suffering is optional. There is a choice called death with dignity that, as you well know, can be used in a very, very beneficial way.
Absolutely. I do know that.
And so there's that spectrum of, am I going to live or am I going to die? And that's sort of always in the background. And part of why we're working on ourselves is to understand that which does not die. This is really the point. One of the major points. One is to improve our quality of understanding and therefore our quality of experience as we go through this life. But another thing is to really discover that which does not change, which is the fundamental frequency of life itself. And having experience of that See, there are no words in the English language. So we kind of run into this place. But having experience of that which doesn't change lends itself to peace, no matter what it is that is happening in our body. And from that perspective, there is a knowing of what to do next about it. We know that's in a way no answer at all, except that it's the reason to cultivate more and more, deeper and deeper experience of that which we come from. Because that peace, and we know you felt it, we have experienced that with you. So it's not like this is foreign, but it's something to cultivate, not a room that we kind of rush in and out of by accident. Because it's possible to live from that. This is part of why we have you hold in the transition between meditation and external awareness to feel that. And to go to that internal and allow it to inform us as our primary reaction to anything that happens in our life, to go there first and ask deeply to be informed, and to use the Anasa temple to be our first place of going for healing. You know, you can go to the Anasa temple for yourself, and you walk in the door for a healing session and there's a table, and you get on the table and allow yourself to be treated until it's done. And sometimes that's just your meditation. Not just, that is your meditation. Being healed, allowing yourself to be loved by that which is your fundamental nature. Which is what we are accessing to bring to you. You are so, so welcome. Thank you for the question. It's an important one. How may we serve further? So we had a question in the last week from someone about how to say I love you to yourself when it feels inauthentic. What to do with that. So you're doing Ho'oponopono. You are always speaking to that which is your deepest, highest self. So we would say the first thing is to apologize to that part that feels inauthentic. To bring it to Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry. Thank you for showing yourself. And understand that the I love you is not exactly to your personality. It's to the highest potential of your being. And the apology and the gratitude and the love are all offered to your own highest potential. And how can that desire be inauthentic? It can't be. The very fact that you choose to sit here is the demonstration of the authenticity of your desire to become in alignment with your highest potential. Which is the same as being the love that you are. We hope that makes sense. How may we serve further?
Hi, this is Paul.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
All right. So in allowing, um, with meditation lately, it's not it's not the same. So the question is, in allowing, when is it? It's like maybe it's time to just step away from it for a while, and maybe I have preconceived notions due to my past experience with meditation of what it should be, but it seems like it might be time to just let it go. Not forever, but just walk away from it. And I've had the same experience with yoga. You know, I do asana every day, a couple times a day. And I find when I just don't do it, when I go out in the field, I don't do it because there's no place to do it, for a couple of weeks. And it actually feels really good not to do it. And when you get back to it, it's better. So there you go. That's my question.
Well, this is a double-edged sword. I mean, we understand what you're saying. And yet there is the experience that when there is great resistance to meditation and you actually sit, even though it's the last thing you want to do, sometimes that's the most amazing meditation you ever have. Not always. It's not that what you're saying is not valid, but the difficulty with these vacations is that they can become extended and you lose your practice.
Is that necessarily a bad thing? Because if you lose it, maybe that's what's meant to be. Maybe that is your higher self.
No. That one we can answer very clearly. There is a losing of ego. That's a very different thing. Losing the dedication to practice. Is a negation of commitment made to one's highest. That's not the same as taking a night off once in a while. And there are times when meditation is doing you, and even then, it's good to sit because there's just a fullness of the allowing of that experience that's, well, it's pretty much fun. But most of the time when we don't want to do it, it's because we're about to engage in something that's really going to change us. And the resistance that we're feeling is that we don't really want to change. So we don't really want to know, so we want to stop. And we can make up about any excuse that will sound good to our mind and keep us from growing is ultimately what happens. Now, we're not saying that's what's happening with you because you didn't give us enough information. You know, you gave us a very general trend that didn't really tell us anything about what it is that you're facing. But we would say that if it feels like the same thing is happening over and over and it's not, let's feel deeper. We would say with you, it's a big change about to happen. And sometimes when that happens, you know, we feel it and we all our resistance comes into play. So our advice to you is to keep going. And the image we're seeing is, you know, a pregnancy that could be a full-term birth for you. That's the image we're seeing, like a rebirth, a new, completely new awareness for you, right on the horizon. So as always, the choice is yours. And we're so completely glad you asked the question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We hope it helps. We completely support you, regardless of what you choose. How may we serve further? Hi.
Hi. So I'm going to use the name Paul's question. Just brought up something that I've been thinking about, and it's not just thinking. I've been feeling as though I am waiting. I'm in a state of waiting, and I'm waiting in the middle of samsara. So it's a very, there's a lot of feeling of, okay, I want to get out of here. but I know that I need to just be in it, and I feel like it's a pregnancy in a way, that I am waiting for something. I'm not sure if it's something that I can make happen or help happen or anything, but it feels like I'm just needing to allow a kind of a space where I don't know. I'm not sure how to put it, but waiting is the word that came to mind when Paul was asking his question too.
So in this situation, absolutely trust your inner, because it's telling you, acknowledge that you're in samsara. Totally fine. This is the human condition. That's the way it is. But you're not telling us that you're tangled up in it. You're just seeing it. And you are waiting. You're waiting to know. And when you know, you will know with capital letters. And yes, there is a sense of being, it's a sense of potency, that something is happening that you can't articulate. And there's some, it is like a gestation. There's some potency. There's a current under there that is informing you that something is going on and it's not complete yet. And often as that happens, as it begins to come into its fruition, it goes through a period of chaos where you feel like you just have to do something. And it's in that period of chaos where you really hold to the idea that something is coming to fruition and you don't know what yet, and you do not respond to the chaos that you notice in samsara. You allow it to be. And this is where you want to jump up and run and say, I don't ever want to have anything to do with this again, because it's total chaos in there. And then just when you really, really can't stand it, something knowing emerges. So this is it. You're exactly right in your description of it. And this is how the process of change happens within us, it's probably the most common pattern. That's what we'll say. And do you know what a fractal is?
Yes.
It's a pattern of change that happens throughout the dimensions of a human being and throughout the human collective itself. And so if you look for this pattern, you'll see it everywhere in nature, in history, experience, that if you look for that pattern, there is the pattern of flow that exists. And then some energy comes in and disrupts that pattern. And so it begins to reform. And in that reforming, it first feels like there's something that's going to happen. And then it gets really, like a bag of worms going all over the place. And you can't stand it, but you just hold in that moment. And then what happens is it reorganizes, and it comes into a new pattern that always has bigger flow. And it may look often like it's a pattern that's repeating that you've seen 100 times before, and you're kind of going, I got this. and then it goes into chaos, and you realize the chaos is part of every pattern. And that's okay. You just, when there's chaos, there's not knowing. The only knowing in that is that it's going to resolve. And that the chaos is temporary. That's true of most patterns, that they happen like that. Does
Thank
that
you.
make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Good. Yeah, great. Anything else? Andrew? Said your name. Okay, let's meditate some more. So what we're going to have you do is whatever kind of meditation feels comfortable to you. We will be broadcasting from Anasa Central. Okay, till next week. Thank you, everybody. We've totally enjoyed being with you. Thank you so much for coming. Till next week. Bye for now.